We're going to be doing our pitch session. So we're going to start. I'm going to just let you know who our judges are, all investors. Starting on my far left, your far right is Raymond Lanza Weil. Weil or Wheel? Weil. Raymond Lanza Weil from Vermont Community Loan Fund. We then have Joel Moyer from Fair Food Fund, and you guys are investors in food and agriculture businesses, yes. Correct? Yes. All right. Karin Chamberlain from Clean Yield Asset Management, also an investment company in all kinds of things, all kinds of impact investing, right? Food, just one of them. Cairn Cross from Fresh Tracks Capital, also entrepreneur in residence at Windham Grows, which we love. And so those are our judges, and we've got 5 companies here today, right? Systems and Restoration, Mark Russo. Where's Mark Russo? Show me your hand, right here. Okay. From Harvest Alchemy, Patrick McKenna. Where's Patrick? Patrick McKenna. Kalen from Nutwood Farm.
Right here.
Kalen, okay. Very tall guy. And Sydney Smith from Dedicated Table. All right. I don't like to stand behind podiums, but that's where the microphone is, so I have to do it this way. So what we're going to do is, there's going to be, where's Jesse? Make sure I get this correct. We're going to have a 3-minute presentation, or 3-minute pitch, however you like to use that term. We're going to have 4 or 5 minutes where the judges themselves can ask questions, and then 4 or 5 minutes for the group in general. That's how we have it, right? Yep. Okay. So we're going to start out with, and I'll go ahead and create the. So we're going to start out with just so we know what it is. We're going to start out with Sydney Smith from Dedicated Table, Mark Russo from Harvest Alchemy, Kalen from Nutwood Farm, and then Patrick McKenna from Community Solutions. I mentioned, nope. And then, and lastly, Leaf from Systems and Restoration. Okay, I know I'm going through that really quickly, but we want to get you all out of here on time and get to the entrepreneurial speed dating, because we don't want to forget that either. So, without further ado, Sydney Smith.
Hi, I'm Sydney. Can you guys hear me in the back? Yeah. I'm Sydney Smith. I'm the co-founder of Dedicated Table, and Dedicated Table is a gluten-free meal kit company. Our meal kits are pre-portioned ingredients for recipes that everyone at the table will enjoy. We currently ship or deliver our meal kits throughout the East Coast, down to Atlanta, and across into the Midwest and up into Chicago. So if you've heard of like Blue Apron, they've been doing a lot of advertising, so you might have heard of them. We're similar to a Blue Apron model, but we are dedicated gluten-free. And this is what differentiates us in the meal kit space, is all of our ingredients are gluten-free, and our kitchen that we prepare them in is also gluten-free. We value transparency and communication and supporting the health of our customers. Our customer primary base are people that have to be gluten-free for medical reasons, though anyone who eats gluten-free would enjoy our meal kits, as well as anyone that's at the table with them. They're whole food-based recipes. We do the vetting of all of our ingredients, suppliers, and producers to assure that they are following protocols to prevent cross-contamination with gluten of any of the ingredients that we are using. And as I mentioned, we prepare our kits in a dedicated gluten-free kitchen. We've completed a successful soft launch and are currently featured as a must-have in Gluten-Free and More magazine. We've recently moved from a shared gluten-free kitchen to our own dedicated gluten-free kitchen and packaging space. And for the next phase of our development that we're focusing on is on customer acquisition and retention, with a goal of 300 new customers and a 40% retention rate by the fall, so sometime in September. We're also continuing to explore as we scale how to maintain relationships and to source ingredients from local and regional producers and farmers, as well as maintaining using high quality meats from small farmers. And we've actually had problem with doing that and having a regular, reliable supply in the winter time. So it's something that we are continuing to look at as we scale. We're also really committed to artisanal gluten-free products and really want to represent companies that are focused on the gluten-free market in our meal kit boxes. We see ourselves as a value and a resource to the gluten-free community, and as I mentioned, that dedication is what differentiates us from other meal kits. So that's all.
Okay, so our investors, can we go up to the stage?
Can you scroll up a little bit past the picture? Scroll up to past the picture. There's what's below it. Thank you.
Questions?
Yes.
So, all right, we won't penalize you for the 30 seconds it took us to figure this out. So you said you were shooting for 300 customers and 40% retention by the end of the year. Where are you now?
Well, we have in our soft launch, so we've been kind of focusing on different regions. So we've had 50 customers, or 52 customers, and we don't really have a good record on the retention. For that, we left our old space and we're moving into our new space, and we decided we couldn't hold the old space without signing an additional lease. So for a month, we haven't had any shipping going out. The customers that we have, we've been in direct communication with, meaning that we're not just sending them generic or kind of emails. We've been checking in with them and they've been giving us feedback along the way. So I think that most of those customers will come back to us and seem to be happy with that. The problem with growing was that we were in this shared kitchen space that we were only in 1 to 2 days a week, and we couldn't leave any supplies there, and we had to kind of bring things back and forth with us. So it really prohibited us from sort of going the next step. So we purposefully needed to keep those numbers low as we just sort of sourced and looked at how to put our kits together.
How does your target retention rate compare to the other services that are out there? And what's your retention strategy?
Yeah, their retention rate is like 25%, 25%. I feel like ours will be higher because we are focused on gluten-free eaters who have to eat gluten-free for all meals. So this isn't just like a luxury item necessarily to have the meal kits. If anyone here is gluten-free, you know, like eating out and grabbing takeout isn't an easy solution for someone that's gluten-free. So I feel like we really fill the void of making safe gluten-free meals easier for someone who lives a busy life.
Thank you for that. How does your product compare in price to the competitors?
Yeah, so we're like kind of in the middle. So a box of 3 meals for 2 people is about $80 including shipping. So it's about $13 and some change per serving. So most of the meal kits range from $10 to $15.
Do you have a follow-up?
It's a separate.
Oh, okay. So have you figured out what the issue with your current retention rate is?
Yeah, I think it's communication. It was a big part of it, and just that we weren't really focused on like maintaining customers as much as we were focused on delivering our product and getting it out and getting feedback from folks. So we had people stay on and then kind of leave or come back, and we just didn't have the resources, I guess, in terms of like consistent email and follow up and just staying on it. And there was a lot of feedback that our website, and we fixed this, that people weren't able to see like what was coming ahead for their meals in enough time to make a decision for it. And so it created a little bit of confusion that I think also we just lost people through that too. So we got good feedback, but it's really clear that we need to have like very clear communication, and people need to feel safe that they can sign up without being stuck in anything, and that they know what to expect, and then they can skip a meal or skip a week or cancel at any time without feeling like it's a big hassle for them. And it was a little bit of a hassle. They needed to email us to do that, and we just didn't have the structure for it.
So you're out of the shared kitchen and into a new kitchen?
Yeah.
And how much capacity do you have there? Was it enough for the 300 customers?
Yeah,
and how many more?
I mean, we don't know for sure, but we have kind of estimated that we can easily do 500 to 600 there. We can add in additional days to do that. Having just the single kitchen on a single day was just not good for our model. So it's 1,200 square feet. The kitchen portion of it, we don't cook any of the meals, we just ship the ingredients, so we don't need to have a lot of space for that. And then, so we have our kitchen, and then we have our packaging area.
The unit economics, so I heard you say $13 is the cost to the customer per meal.
Serving.
Per serving, what's your cost?
So we, currently, we are, well, with the shipping, so it's hard to kind of directly answer that, but we estimate that we get about $20 per box from our costs, but that should scale really quickly because we haven't been able to really buy even like packaging supplies to keep on hand. So we've been buying things in like increments of 50, which is pretty much useless. And so once that changes, and also having regular shipping so that we have better shipping rates, that's actually one of the biggest costs that we haven't been able to kind of nudge anywhere because we just don't have the numbers for it yet.
What's your background and the team's experience?
Yeah, so my background is I was a environmental science professor and started a life coaching business for young adults, and my youngest daughter got really sick. She had celiac disease. I went to learn more information about it, became a health coach in that process, and started a health coaching business, working with people on different issues, but including people who had gluten-free, who needed to eat gluten-free. So, and I had a business doing that for about 10 years. And the other co-founder is business, has a degree in economics, and is a MBA from Babson College, and works in internet. I don't know if he would say it this way, probably wouldn't, but like internet marketing. But he works for companies, helping them to acquire customers through the internet and social media.
All right, so we've got a couple minutes for audience questions. So anybody questions for Sydney? We've got, I don't know your name. Can you just speak loudly?
I'm wondering where you source your ingredients, and if you have a value around sourcing.
Yeah, we do have a value around sourcing. We don't really have a good, I wouldn't say anyone that we're committed to using, because our soft launch was mostly through this past winter. So we're in Connecticut actually, and so we were using different companies there, including going to markets and Whole Foods and Trader Joe's, and using Sardilli's, which is like a produce shopping. We've used Cisco. We just sort of pieced around people. We asked them to focus on their local. They all have local divisions. Part of the issue for us was not knowing what we were doing, one thing, but also not knowing what our customers were, so we really couldn't plan ahead in terms of what we needed a month ahead. That part feels a little bit better for us. And the other piece is we really looked into, we were originally up in Keene, and we really looked into working with local farmers. But one of the issues is that we have to be able to trace back where all of the produce comes from, when it was grown and who grew it, so that when we package it and ship it, that if there's an issue with it in terms of contamination, not just from gluten-free, but like E. coli or anything else, that we can source back all of those steps. And that's a really important part of protocol that we need to put into our company. And so we're sort of juggling how to do that and work with small farmers. And I think for us it means having somebody in the step in between who is doing that part of it, who can get from local farmers, track it, and then we can buy from them. Yeah.
Anyone else? Back here?
How do you find your celiac customers? Do you go to gluten-free
Yes, you guys are against the grain, right? Well, here's my story. So our first expo for gluten-free, we were right next to you guys in Worcester, Mass. And so we were like the little tiny booth, and for some reason I got next to you guys, and 400 people waited in line to get your slices of pizza and got on our mailing list. So thank you. So we've been going to expos. We've been doing some targeted social media marketing. We've worked with some bloggers. We have an affiliate program set up with some gluten-free bloggers. And then the Gluten-Free and More magazine, their feature actually brought in a lot of views and customers for us as well.
Probably not going to get time for all of them. I'll start with our gentleman here in the red.
You said the customer pays $13 per serving. What is your cost for, on that $13?
I don't know. Well, that's the customer, but not every meal. So there's 3 meals. Not every meal is the same. So there's, depending on how we scale it. So there's like a meat, poultry, vegan, vegetarian dish. So not each one of those does not cost us 13, but the average dish is 13. But on the total box for the week, we keep about $20 per box at this point, which hopefully will grow.
She answered the question about the types of meals.
Yeah.
Chicken, poultry, and...
So right now we don't offer a lot of choice. I kind of see it as like a conscious omnivore. We just take pride in the health, that our recipes are whole foods based, but they're really for someone that eats a pretty broad diet but is gluten-free.
Okay, one last one here.
Could you explain what you do for shipping?
So we have a box that has an insulated liner. The liner is made out of a recycled paper that can also be recycled. It has a plastic lining with the paper in between it, and then we use ice packs. And the complete box is rated for 72 hours to maintain the temperature that we need for the shipping purposes. And we do 2-day shipping, so the person does not have to be home to get the box. It can be at their door in that time frame. Yeah.
All right, thank you. All right. Now you have to go back there. Yes, it's kind of a dance thing. Next is Mark Russo from Harvest Alchemy.
Harvest Alchemy. Thank you. You're welcome. Hello everybody, my name is Mark. I'm from Harvest Alchemy. We turn bones into gold and scraps into sterling silver. We are a locally, regionally, Northeast focused bone broth and value added animal products company. It's currently in the startup phase. I don't have a lot of fancy digital accoutrement, so I just I'll share with you guys my mission and some other stuff. Some other information. So first of all, our mission is in 4 parts. First part, we want to harness the power of the Upper Hudson Valley and Mohawk food shed to produce nutrient-dense food products with minimal processing using beyond organic ingredients from local source-identified producers. Our second main point is to support a local regenerative economy by helping farmers generate maximum value from head-to-tail animal harvest and otherwise low-value farm produce. Thirdly, we want to educate and inform our customers and the public about the benefits of active participation in a regenerative food culture. And lastly, nurture trusting relationships locally and globally, particularly with customers who have complex dietary needs. So like the gluten-free presenter who just happened before us, I personally suffer from some food issues. A lot of young people I know do, and it's a huge pain in the butt to go to the grocery store and find something that you can actually eat. Products that we hope to produce are products that are things that people who can't eat anything ought to be able to eat. Our first main product to start with is grass-fed beef bone broth. The ingredients are beef bones, salt, and water. Those things are simmered for a long period of time. That extracts a tremendous amount of nutritional value from what is otherwise a scrap or waste product from the majority of farms that produce livestock. And we generate a very high value product. We want to stay focused on the Northeast because I don't think it makes a lot of economic or ecological sense to ship water, even if it's filled with delicious gelatinous nutrition, around the country. And also the main vacuum that we're seeing, the opportunity in the market here is that there is no, from all market research I've done, there is no local grass-fed or bone broth, beef bone broth producer in the Northeast. That's from searching Whole Foods from New Jersey up to the capital region of New York and contacting numerous co-ops in the area. We aspire to a cooperative ownership model similar to Real Pickles. Was really inspired by we've been inspired before and was really inspired by the presentation I saw earlier, where they spoke really about how they decided to cap their market and decided to really focus on a specific area, which for me, because so much about this local food movement is about maintaining relationships with customers, with farmers, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me to go thousands of miles away. Just as a quick show of hands, who here has heard of bone broth? Great, cool. So I bet you if I'd asked that question 5 years ago, the number of responses would have been quite different. This is a massively growing sector, from all I can tell. A quick Google search turns up results from Eater Magazine, Shape Magazine, Wellness Mama. We got the CrossFit people, we have the dietary people. Seems like there's a tremendous market, and we want to come in and fill it.
Hey there. God, that's so loud. Are you motivated more by the desire to be sure the animals are wholly used, or by the market need?
I would say both. It's really important to me to help local farmers who ought to be spending their time farming find a market for their products, particularly things that aren't like ribeye and strip steaks that already have a focus. So I would say it's come at it from both ends.
Literally.
Yeah.
So is your the market channels you're going to sell through, is it more of a Whole Foods or the wholesale to perhaps restaurants or inputs for other value-added products?
Yeah, so at this point, we're looking for the broth at least. We're at this point deciding going in two directions. One could potentially lead to the other. We're either going to go the direct marketing farmers market sales with a higher margin, or wholesale to local cooperatives, potentially Whole Foods and things like that. A lot of that depends on, at this point, what facilities we develop a relationship with, because in order to wholesale, you have to have a lot of USDA certification, a lot more stuff. Whereas with a smaller license, we may decide to start that way, start smaller, building those direct relationships with customers before we expand to a more regional wholesale type of marketing. But we could go either way.
Can you talk about your suppliers?
Yeah, well, at this point, our suppliers are farms that we have personal relationships with, myself and my partner. So Kinderhook Farm is one. They're an organic grass-fed producer in Valatia, New York. We also we're developing relationships with grass-fed beef producers up and down the Hudson Valley, either through word of mouth or by seeing their product at local stores when we're doing market research and just contacting them and seeing if they have a market for their product.
So picking up on Raymond's question and going to next step, so it sounds like you're thinking about this as, hey, there's an unmet need for the farmer to use more of the animal. Tell me about the trends within the consumer and in terms of eating.
Okay, yeah, there's several different angles that I look at this from. So from one, we have the paleo is very popular right now. Local eating, nutrient-dense food is very popular in fitness circles. It's also popular in, I don't know how to say this delicately, perhaps the Cosmo crowd for its like life-regenerating collagen type things. There's that aspect of it. And then there's also, like where my personal heart lies is with people who need to be able to buy food that they can trust isn't going to hurt them.
Is this thing on? Who's your competition?
Right now, so locally there is, from what I can tell from my market research, there's no local producer of beef broth. There is a local producer of pig and turkey, pork and turkey broth, and there are some national producers of beef broth. They're generally shipped frozen or Tetra Packed.
Right, so the Tetra Paks I'm familiar with, and is that a direct competitor for you?
I don't think we would we would be competing directly for market share because I'm interested in sourcing our products in in communities or directly people who are really looking to this stuff. So people who are shopping at co-ops and stuff like that, rather than people who are more looking to get cases of things delivered to their house so they don't have to think about it so much.
When I buy beef broth in a Tetra Pak, I don't know if that's marrow broth or not. I mean, how is your product distinct from that product?
Well, we'll be selling in glass jars because I firmly believe that real food comes in glass, so you'll be able to see it. And one of the strategies that we have going forward is to actually do lab testing on our product and compare it to, say, beef broth or beef stock that you buy in the grocery store is federally stipulated to have something like 34 parts per million of protein, which is like nothing. And so if we can show that ours has 1,500 parts per million, that I think that would be a draw to customers who are looking for the product that we're selling.
All right. Any questions from our audience? Go ahead.
I have a question on the cost, or any idea of pricing for, say, a quart of...
Yeah, all of our models right now are based on $10 a quart. Our competitors, Fire and I forget the second half, they're online. They retail, or they sell direct to you a 16-ounce carton, which is half a quart, for $10 plus shipping. Or you can subscribe for that same carton for $8. So our competition is priced in more or less the $15 to $20 range, and we're shooting for locally produced and retailing for between $12 and $15.
Any other questions? Up back here.
Do you have to produce in a USDA inspected kitchen?
That's a good question. That's actually one of the things that we're looking at, and we'll decide the direction that we decide to take for marketing. If we sell direct at farmers markets, we do not have to use a USDA certified kitchen. If we want to wholesale, then we do. However, which has higher expense and input costs, but would also open the door to producing a lot of other products that we're interested in, like rendered lard, tallow, other meat products that can only be produced in a USDA certified facility.
What's the shelf life of the product?
If frozen, up to a year, and but based on the research that we've done, kept in the cold chain, 3 weeks to a month.
You're going to be storing them in glass jars. I assume you're not going to freeze them in glass.
Yeah. We'll kind of have to determine that. My partner and I developed this idea based on us being able to do it like 1.5 to 2 days a week with our other jobs. So it's all of our numbers work with very small volumes as far as sustainability. We only have to sell about 4 cases a week, which is approximately 48 quarts, which is essentially 2 batches of broth to break even. And that's all based on really only producing what we already know will be sold through our partners. Through wholesale.
It sounds like the market that you're looking at there's a bit of a discrepancy between that and the farming communities that maybe you'd be getting this beef from. Are you going to try and sell it? You say you're doing it at farmers market, but are you going to try and sell it like within the 4 farming communities that you're getting the beef from, or are you going to try and make it more like that? It sounds like it's more of a high-end product. Have you thought about that?
Yeah, actually, there's a few other models that that we look at that we could potentially incorporate into ours. One is like more of a co-packing type of thing. So for many producers of things like this, farmers will sell their, like for example, for lacto-fermented vegetables, will sell their product and then have the option to buy back to sell through their own stores at a reduced rate or a share of it or something like that. Because serving the communities that this product is sourced from is super important because it's all about developing that regional resiliency.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Yeah, sure. You can go ahead and introduce yourself.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
There's a crowd. Good afternoon, evening, everyone. My name is Sarah Tower.
And I'm Kalyan Pritchard, and we are Nutwood Farm.
Nutwood Farm. So we've been really inspired today listening to Mark Shepard and our other panelists. We are growing tree crops right in western Massachusetts. We've been working to establish a perennial agricultural system. This is something that is, we all need to be doing more of this, and we're trying to be the ones to jump it off in our area.
Yeah, so we've been largely inspired by Mark Shepard, and we've gotten most of our genetics in terms of trees from his nursery already, as well as, we've been sourcing from several other nurseries to add to that, and also modeling after him and doing a contour swale system as a passive irrigation. And we're really looking at the whole farm in terms of designing, in terms of intelligent design, so that we're, sorry, back me up here.
Whole systems design.
Yes.
Really, they're trying to look at every piece of it and integrating the food that we need and the whole diverse ecology, being able to support that, to support ourselves and our community.
Yeah. So it's not just nut crops, it's also sheep and goats and ducks and fruit trees and berries and all kinds of other things, but the hazelnuts will be our breadwinner. And we're pushing for about 1,000 bushes on our 7-acre property that, the yield statistics say about 20 pounds a bush and upwards of that if the hybrids continue improving. And so that's at 1,000 bushes, that's pretty easy math, but we're doing a 5-year coppice rotation, which means we're doing 5 plantings of about 200 bushes at a time over the course of 5 years. And once the first planting matures, then that winter we'll actually cut the entire planting to the ground to have it spring back the next year, losing only 1 year crop on that planting. So every year thereafter we'll have 4 plantings to harvest from, but we'll have a continued renewed stock.
So this is our 2nd year. We've just put another 200 hazelnuts in the ground, and we're going to continue planting. We're expecting to start producing for market either next fall of 2018, hopefully, and just start with probably in-shell nuts, but then quickly trying to develop some products, value-added products that we can make from mostly hazelnuts to begin with, so looking at nut butters and nut oils in particular, and then expanding out from there into flours, milks,
roasted, flavored nuts.
All kinds of things. And using the shells as well, looking at different ways that we could value add and produce products with shells.
Yeah, whether it's just fuel in terms of a gasification fuel where we can still generate biochar, or just using it directly as mulch or abrasives. Walnut shells are used for that. Hazelnut shells are harder.
Dense carbon. So
yeah.
We are carbon farmers. We're trying to learn as much as we can and do this work that really needs to be done. We're just in a startup phase, really, but we've got a lot of momentum behind us. So.
And we're only 7 acres. We're trying to inspire fellow farmers to plant more nuts. We are the first farm in Massachusetts that
we know of.
Commercially driven, and we're trying to. We need to see more of this. As Mark said, we could be planting trillions of acres with hazelnuts and chestnuts, and there are dozens of dairies in our area. They're all dying slowly, and they are each easily 100 acres. But yes, we're 7 acres, and we're psyched.
Or nuts.
Could you just tell us a little bit about your background and your experience in nut farming?
Well, unfortunately, there's not any nut farmers in this area to learn from. My personal experience is rather diverse. I'm kind of a self-taught jack of all trades, so to speak. I've been building for quite a while, and I'm a body worker, but I've also done a bit of property management, and was a friend of mine taught me how to prune apple trees about 5 to 6 years ago, and discovered how much I love caring for trees. And when I met Sarah, we found this piece of land and just looked at what wants to grow here. And we started looking into what was not available and trying to find a niche that we could step into that wasn't yet filled. And we've been sold on nuts about 12 or 20 times since. So,
and I've got experience mostly with row cropping vegetables, working on other farms, and also really in community development work and social justice and trying to bring that together. I was working on a community farm, essentially, with some refugee farmers, and then have been trying to rethink the whole food system and landed here.
I had the privilege of seeing you guys present last fall in the Pioneer Valley. So I was wondering if you could give us all an update of like how far you've come over the winter in terms of, I think you were doing some fundraising through crowdfunding, et cetera, and how that's gone and what those funds have potentially been used for.
So Joel's right. We did present at the Slow Money Pioneer Valley last fall, which was a lot of fun. And then because of that, doing that work, we launched a crowdfunding campaign in March this year. We set a goal for raising $12,000, and we exceeded that with 15. And we're going to use that to build a small processing facility, which is going to be half greenhouse and half crop dryer. And that'll be the first space that we use when we start harvesting nuts.
A very multifunctional space. It'll be a year-round dehydration space. It'll be about 8 by 32 feet, full of racks and with breeze blowing through it and heated by this greenhouse.
So what's the demand for hazelnut and hazelnut products these days? What's the trends?
It's great that you asked that.
Well, our local co-op in Northampton sells hazelnuts for about $20 a pound, shelled in their bulk. There are a lot of nuts consumed in this country, all over the place. Massachusetts, where we live, has not a single nut farmer. So that feels like a big absence of production. All the nuts consumed in Massachusetts are imported. So I think there's quite a bit of demand, and there's not many hazelnuts consumed, but there's a lot of other nuts, and hazelnuts are highly nutritious. And
I think that's mostly due to availability because, I mean, if you look at your nut butter section of your co-op, you're going to see hundreds of different kinds. And most of it's almond butter, and the demand for almond butter is actually, it's through the roof, just from my own observations, selling for sometimes $15 for a quart. A pint, sorry. And I think that if there's any way that we can beat that price, which I think we can, with a locally produced nut that is abundant and not reliant on irrigation and frequent drought in California.
Yeah, so actually the follow-up was, what's the water requirement for hazelnut?
we have a passive irrigation system installed, which is our earthworks, our contour swales that the trees are actually planted on the berm. So they have a swale just uphill of them that fills with water when it rains, and we haven't had any drought issues.
So we have drought and flood protection from what we're doing.
So are they water consumers as much as almonds and the like?
No.
No,
Okay.
not. They're they're native in this area. We have hazelnuts growing on the sides of the road, so they're a plant that's much more adapted to our climate than almonds.
Well, so maybe you've answered my next question, which is, why are there no tree nut farmers in Western Mass? And related to that, what are the primary inputs other than planting the trees?
So the number one reason why there aren't hazelnuts is we have an eastern filbert blight, which took out any of the European hazels that were being planted here for production. So we have an American hazelnut that is just much smaller and harder to harvest, and most people don't bother harvesting from the Native American hazelnuts. But the work that's been done in the last 10 to 30 or 50 years over
By Mark Shepard and Rutgers and Cornell
have been able to breed European genetics into a hazelnut that we can produce here in the Northeast again.
Resistant to that blight?
Resistant to the blight.
So primary inputs, other than water?
Almost nothing,
perhaps
a little, lime or whatever you need to sweeten the soil. And
good soil.
Otherwise, they don't need great soil. They grow fine on subprime soil.
I love hazelnuts. My mother's from Germany, so hazelnut ice cream is like my sweet spot. But they're very expensive. Like I like to buy them in the market, but they're more expensive than almonds and almost anything else. So why are they so expensive, and how would you make them less expensive?
Our theory is, is that, what was I going to say?
Sorry.
Most of the production of hazelnuts is coming from Turkey and Oregon. So they're all being trucked thousands of miles to get to us. So I think that's the number one thing that's adding to their cost. I don't know.
Yeah, and honestly, they're overpriced. And we hope to undercut the competition so as to guarantee our sales.
I mean, we see this as producing not a specialty item, but actually a staple crop that will become something that our community can use for their bread and butter, for oil, for staple goods. It's a total shift in how we're thinking about producing food in our area.
Okay, we got a couple of minutes for questions from the audience. We'll start back there, and then to you. Yeah.
People that start vineyards where it takes a number of years for the grapes to get to the point that they can make wine, will buy in grapes and make wine in anticipation of that. Have you considered buying in hazelnuts and making some hazelnut products as a way of financing the development of your vineyard?
I have thought about that, and I've emailed everyone that I know in this broad region to see if there are any hazelnuts available, and I haven't found a single person who can sell me a 50-pound bag of hazelnuts. So they're in demand, is what I'm saying, actually. The people who are doing it already, I guess they're already selling out.
Okay, I got news for you. I sold hazelnuts this winter in this room at the Brattleboro Farmers Market, but no comparison to you. I was selling them in like 2-ounce Ziploc bags. I have 6 hazelnut bushes, and I just started getting nuts from them a couple years ago. I'm not going to be in the business really. But my question is, okay, what if they don't work out? Like mine turned out to be really small. Maybe they're not the best hybrid for my soil or something. You going to grow anything else, intercropping, or I mean, what other revenue streams are you going to have if the other nuts maybe, or for the future if they don't pan out?
No, we are banking on the hazelnuts at this point, but we've already planted 55 chestnuts and 25 English walnuts, a bunch of some hardy pecans and some butternuts and heart nuts and some stone pines. They all are a longer wait time till harvest. So the hazelnuts, we are banking on Mark Shepard's stock as being especially productive.
No pressure.
But
and then in addition, we have a number of things we want to do, especially understory medicinals, things that are also high value, that are diversifying both our property and also the local food shed.
And some small livestock, probably mostly for our own use, but to help us manage the property.
And we have other jobs right now.
Thank you. I'm a Nutella fanatic. I like my hazelnuts. Could you talk a little bit about the value-added products that you're envisioning?
It's exciting, yeah.
Yeah, go on, and the sky is the limit in terms of potential products. There's a lot of maple producers in our area, so the first question we got is maple glazed hazelnuts, because we have buyers who would buy them tomorrow if we had nuts.
We also have a miso company just down the road, so tamari flavored nuts. Like the flavored nut is definitely a thing.
Yeah, roasted and flavored.
Covered in chocolate, peanut butter and chocolate, hazelnut butter and chocolate.
Ground into nut butter and mixed with chocolate. Local Nutella.
Exactly.
One last one here.
This all sounds so delicious. So how will consumers get more hazelnuts?
So we're going to start probably pretty small, which is kind of the beauty of this model, is that by planting a little bit at a time, we have time to figure out the markets, and probably start with a direct market, farmers market, farm stands, and then from there, as we're able to scale up to restaurants and wholesale. But again, as other people have been inspired by this Northeast region, I think that's going to be one of our big values too, is really to stay local, because you can get hazelnuts in other places, but we want to serve our region.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Just a reminder, by the way, the winners of the competition, the top 3, each get 3 hours of coaching from the Windham Grows entrepreneurs in residence, myself and Cairn. So that's, in addition to hopefully getting some investment, that's kind of what's at stake here. Cairn's going, really? We promised that?
Why did you tell me that?
Well, okay, so we have two more here. Next is Patrick McKenna from Community Solutions.
So my name's Patrick. I work with a nonprofit organization called Community Solutions. Community Solutions works nationally to end poverty and homelessness. We also have two place-based initiatives, one in Brownsville and Brooklyn, and one in the northeast neighborhood of Hartford. I'm not a food producer, so I'm going to be the kind of different person in the room here. The northeast neighborhood of Hartford is one of the neighborhoods that makes up a federally designated promise zone, one of 22 national promise zones in the country. These are communities that have been designated as high poverty but high capacity for change. What brought us to the neighborhood was the Swift factory. It's a former gold leaf manufacturing facility, 65,000 square feet, and in its height employed over 300 people in the neighborhood. Closed in 2005 and was donated to Community Solutions in 2010. It's a collection of 5 interconnected factory buildings on a 2.5-acre site with 2 historic homes in a residential neighborhood on the federal and state historic register. When we were donated the factory, we reached out to the community to see what the community needed and how the factory could help. Just like any community, we heard that they were concerned about youth engagement, public safety, and jobs. We also realized the significant health disparities in the neighborhood. The community needs assessment ranked the neighborhood as the worst in the city in terms of potential years of life lost. On average, people in the north end of Hartford live 10 years less than people in the surrounding community. So the focus for our work in the neighborhood is to improve health and create jobs. And we're using food as one way to tackle both of those issues. Hartford Food System, a local nonprofit, has had a farm on the property since we moved in. And then we're looking for tenants to move into the building to create jobs in the food industry. Food is a growing sector of the economy, as we all know, but more importantly, jobs in the food sector are available to people in the neighborhood who might not have finished high school or have other barriers to employment. So in the tenants are going to include a local restaurant chain who's going to open up a commissary kitchen, already employs people from the neighborhood, an indoor aquaponic firm. It's also going to be a food business incubator and a shared office space, as well as a community health centre to more directly address the health needs of the neighborhood. I want to talk a little bit about some of the spaces that are available to all the food businesses and entrepreneurs. This food business incubators, the series of up to 10 smaller dedicated kitchens. So a user in a shared kitchen who needs a dedicated space but isn't ready to have their own kitchen will be able to have this. There'll be a shared kitchen available if they need some more equipment. There'll be cooler and freezer and loading dock and shared storage facilities. They'll also have access to a shared office space for other non-food businesses can use as well in the neighborhood. And we also have a couple of larger spaces that are still available if anybody needs a larger space and is interested in working in Connecticut. The factory is about to start construction. We expect it to last about 14 months. The fundraising is complete. We've raised over $32 million to do the project. It includes a $2.4 million grant from the EDA, US EDA, to fit out the incubator and the shared kitchen space. We have tours available last Thursday of every month, or you can contact me directly if you'd like to set up a personal tour. Thank you.
First of all, congratulations on raising that money and that great work you guys are doing. I don't really have any questions. Have you looked at Commonwealth Kitchen in Massachusetts, and I guess what are the other models you're using to build off of,
Sure.
and the other successful models you're using to build off?
Sure. So yeah, we've been up to Commonwealth Kitchen when it was Crop Circle, and visited with a Franklin County Community Development Corporation. There's also a shared kitchen in Willimantic, Connecticut called Click. Been to Hope in Maine, in Warren, Rhode Island, also the Union Kitchen in DC. You know, everybody says that food incubators are kind of difficult to run, especially kind of the shared kitchen part of that. So our focus has been to try and create a kind of a step up from the shared kitchen that will require kind of less management and have these kind of dedicated kitchen spaces, so that a business kind of rents those. So for instance, Dedicated Table has to move out, you know, every time they're finished and clean up and the next person comes in. This allows somebody to have a kind of dedicated space. It means that the building manager doesn't have to continually manage those spaces. You know, the tenant is responsible for that themselves. And so there's kind of a little less management on our end, and but also kind of allows for a dedicated space for a growing business. I also kind of forgot to mention that Bear's Barbecue is also hoping to offer co-packing services. So as a business grows, they could take advantage of a co-packer within the same building, and so they could remain in the office space and have their product kind of made in the building without having to kind of relocate and find a larger facility.
Will you guys be taking care of the health permitting, all that? Is that a...
Yeah, so the kitchens themselves will have a kind of a general health department certified kind of locally. You know, depending on the process that the individual tenants want to use, you know, they'll have to kind of work with the local health department on that a little bit more. But yes, we've kind of had initial meetings with the health department to understand what their limitations are. We're also kind of, with it being a historic building, there are some kind of limitations in what we can do to the fabric of the building itself. But yes, the idea is that they'll be kind of locally certified, probably not USDA certified unless a particular tenant had a need for that.
So I'm curious, a two-part question. How involved was the local community in deciding how this was going to end up looking and the various offerings that were inside the building? And then the second part of that is thinking about the tenants and occupancy. Do you have any protocols for prioritizing, you know, hyper-local and kind of expanding out?
Sure, yeah. So as I kind of mentioned briefly, you know, when there's actually a local community group, one of the people who kind of connected our organization with the building. There was the factory had donated some land that it had used as parking lots to Habitat for Humanity, and houses were built on that. The building itself lay vacant for a number of years, and nobody was willing to kind of take it on. There was some talk about it being demolished, but a local architectural restoration organization and the local community group reached out to try and save the building, and connected our organization with that to try and save the building. And so kind of saving the building was something that the community wanted. In terms of its use then, you know, we kind of reached out to the community to see what they needed, and kind of jobs was what they needed. And so even though housing would have been a lot easier to fund in this building, that was not what the community needed. And so we kind of looked at ways to create jobs in the neighborhood. We looked at a number of different models, Greenpoint Manufacturing Development Corporation in Brooklyn, community food centers in Canada. Went out to LA to a number of places there, and you know, but kind of there are a number of kind of food businesses and nonprofits in Hartford, Hartford Food System, Billings Forge, and you know, kind of working with them around the idea of creating this kind of community food center. You know, primarily because, you know, we wanted to create jobs that people in the neighborhood could have access to, and so for instance, Bear's Barbecue, a commercial business, but you know, recently just raised its minimum wage to $15 an hour. 75% of their employees are Hartford residents and 50% have criminal backgrounds. So kind of attracting businesses like that who are committed to employing people from the neighborhood. You know, our goal is that people working in the factory will look like the people in the immediate neighborhood. So while kind of food is kind of a regional thing, we really want this to have a direct benefit to the immediate people who are living in adjacent to the building itself.
So do you have a current financial need that you're pitching for? Question number one. And question number two is, could you talk a little bit more about the jobs and the income stream? Because I'm not clear how much of it would be tenants versus your own operations.
Yeah, we're intending to be the landlord of the building, so Bear's Barbecue is going to run the commissary kitchen. Trifecta Ecosystems will run the indoor aquaponics. Community Health Centre Inc. will run the health centre. So we see ourselves as a kind of a backbone organisation, to try and bring in organisations and businesses who want to work together to improve the neighbourhood. And so the pitch here is to try and reach out to food businesses and entrepreneurs who might be looking for space in the Hartford area. There's definitely a need for those businesses to have access to capital. One of the barriers to starting a business is obviously kind of capital to grow. And so in order for this to be successful and to create economic opportunity for the community, having kind of access to and connections to funding sources is one of the things that would kind of make that a success. We ourselves are going to be partnering with local organizations and business development groups to provide kind of business development services to the organizations. We personally will not be doing that, but are kind of collecting a group to do that.
Okay, we've got just a couple minutes for audience questions if anyone has some. Over here.
So commercial kitchen equipment is absurdly expensive. For the long-term individual leases for the incubator kitchen rather than the commissary kitchen, do you plan to subsidize or support the businesses that go in there by providing equipment, or is it just kind of a space rental with a Department of Health stamp?
So we've been going back and forth a little bit on this, and the model is still in flux. But ideally, what we will have is 9 dedicated kitchens that will be kind of lightly furnished, basically just with kind of some sinks plumbed in there. Not knowing what the needs for the individual tenants are going to be, it wouldn't make sense for us to fit all of those kitchens out without knowing what's going to be needed. We are going to have a larger shared use kitchen that anybody who rents the dedicated kitchen will have access to, so that everybody doesn't need a 6-burner stove, everybody doesn't need a till kettle, but that you can use that to do whatever's needed and then kind of come back to your own dedicated space. So the idea is to try and have some of the larger equipment available on a shared use basis, and then the kind of dedicated equipment that each individual business would need would be kind of in their own space. At the minute, we haven't figured out whether there would be funds available to purchase kind of dedicated equipment for each of the individual businesses, but that might be kind of something to look into.
In here.
You mentioned that there was going to be a first aid clinic and talked about how the age difference, mortality is different in that area. Is there any focus then on the clinic to address why there might be that issues? Like, are you going to, the first thing might come to mind is like contamination, maybe from even the factory itself. So is there going to be sort of more attention to that area for their health concerns?
Yeah, so yeah, great question. When we kind of talk about improving health in the neighborhood, we don't just mean improving access to clinical care. We're interested in addressing the social determinants of health. So that's the conditions that people live in, the food that they eat, the employment opportunities that they have, and the community health center that we're talking with about coming into the building is looks at health very holistically. And so with there being kind of greens grown in the building, our partners are really interested in connecting kind of healthy food to the neighborhood, so that as we move out of the development of this, kind of looking at the housing conditions in the neighborhood, there is all these are kind of older homes with lead and probably asbestos contamination, and so kind of looking at those conditions in the neighborhood, trying to access funds that are already available to clean these up and get kind of residents connected with those, so to try and improve the physical conditions. You know, we really believe that the physical conditions that we live in have a huge impact on our health.
All right. Thank you, Patrick. And lastly, we have Leaf, right? And is it Living Systems and Restoration?
Living Systems Design and Restoration.
All right, well, you can tell us.
I will.
Do you need that?
All right, so hey everyone, my name is Leif Botsjorns, and I'm one part of a business called Living Systems Design and Restoration. We're working on the name right now, but our mission is to design, build, plant, grow, and manufacture high-efficiency systems which are intrinsically symbiotic and work to create permanence in agricultural systems. And just a bit about the name. We have noticed a definite need for systems which in themselves are intrinsically alive and healthy. This is where the name Living Systems Restoration comes from. We restore systems and bring them back to life. This can be a household, a yard, forest, a farm, an industrial plant, an idea, or anything else. It's about working with people, and that's what we do. So I'll just cut to the chase. Basically, it's me and a couple friends, and we're carpenters, and we do dirt work and concrete work, and we also plant gardens, do things like that, build terraces for people to plant gardens in. What else do we do? We basically try to do whole systems design. So whether you want to put in a greenhouse or a pergola for growing grapes on, or you want to have a rain tank that you can feed your garden with, or you want a pond that you can feed your garden with. This is a greenhouse we just built. Yeah, basically we're operating right now, and we are taking on jobs and having a good time and figuring out how to expand and try to do more. And we try to operate like we think of our business and our website as like a mycelial platform. And so we are different mushrooms mining the rocks, or for nutrients for the trees, or we are the trees. And so we come together and we provide services for people that need them. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. We do things like this, build greenhouses. Yeah, this is a pond that we were working on in St. Johnsbury. Yeah, that's pretty much it, I guess. I mean, we have a large network of skilled individuals at our fingertips, so if we're not able to do it, we can call upon machinists or botanists or mycologists. A couple of the guys in our team are skilled mushroom growers, and yeah, so these are some terraces we built. And yeah, that's those terraces later that year, a couple months later, which is pretty cool. This is what we haul our equipment with. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Oh, we also we do rigging for stages. We just set up a sweet stage and played a concert on it. So that's one of our new industries that we're getting into. This will show up if you hire us to set up a stage for you. Yeah? Oh, and we're from, I'm based in Jericho, Vermont, but we're definitely Vermont based, but we also have international ties as well.
So you get the automatic versatility award. for all different things, but tell me about your ideal customer. Describe your ideal customer to me, because that's not
My
coming through.
ideal customer, someone who wants to learn about the system we're putting in and is enthusiastic about it and is going to use it and ask questions about it, and I want them to be able to maintain what we help them put in, like a greenhouse. Like, you got to be able to skin your greenhouse yourself. I don't have the time to be getting called to skin someone's greenhouse if it blows off. I think that it's really important to have people be able to understand the systems they're living in, like their house. If you're building someone a house or a tiny house, they gotta basically understand it, but that's part of our job, is to make that possible. But yeah, I think just easy to work with and enthusiastic about what they want, rather than like, oh, I think I want like a house with some polystyrene insulation, and like, I don't really know, and I don't really want to spend the money on it, but be like, I want like a clay house with like nice round wood construction and pack wood chips in the walls, and you can have an herb dryer maybe up above the wood stove. Yeah.
I'm not sure if you're selling construction services or idea generation.
Probably a bit of both. Yeah.
Do I need to have an idea when I come to you?
No. No, you don't. Yeah, no. Do you want me to give you some ideas to?
I have a yard full of ideas, so there you go. So beyond greenhouses and swales and pergolas and the like, what other kinds of systems does your business encompass?
Tiny houses. We are doing tiny houses at the moment. We recently built a tiny house on a trailer. We've been doing a lot of sheds. Sheds are awesome and fun to build, all sizes. High end or just like stud frame, as in timber frame or stud frame. We do some foundation work. We put in some roads, small roads and driveways at this point, but it'd be nice to do more of that. I don't want to, I guess I shouldn't say road, I should probably say long driveway. But yeah. Welding too, we do metal fabrication, things like that.
So, 2 questions. How do your clients find you? How do you find your clients? And what is your profitability? And when do you expect to be economically sustainable or viable for supporting yourself and your employees?
Right. So, in terms of finding clients, it hasn't really been a problem at all. We promote ourselves whenever we get the chance, and people basically, through word of mouth, want what we're doing. And I have a great, I don't want to use the word business partner because we don't think of it like that. It's the mycelium, right? He's another part of the mycelium. But he's super good at promotion. So that helps. And in terms of profitability, it's profitable right now. We all have jobs, but we're also working this job, and so it's like a dual income stream. So yeah, I guess it's profitable right now. We're definitely making money. So yeah, it depends on the job as to how much we make, obviously. But
where do you want the business to be in 5 years? What kind of business do you want it to be?
I'd definitely like to continue doing the stuff we're doing and build more ponds, bigger ponds, smaller ponds, put in more trees, just be able to get more people involved and get more people the knowledge, because I think that's one of the things that we are really big on is the, as I think everyone here is like free knowledge essentially, and so we already do some just like informational sessions, or we'll teach people about plants. We have a transition town network set up in Jericho that we're working with, and so just trying to take all avenues to get the information out there because there's not enough of it. And yeah, I think just continue what we're doing and just try to meet as many people. And we're gonna, my sister and my dad are here, and we're going to be starting a farm up in Barnet, potentially. We have some stuff going in Jericho right now, where I'm living. We have a couple gardens and little nurseries, but yeah.
All right, we got time for a couple of questions from the audience. One here.
You're a jack of all trades kind of guy. If you were going to scale your business up, what of the things that you're working on would you like to focus on, and sort of what things could go away?
So I actually get that a lot. Like, oh, like you're doing a lot of things, and but I actually see it as they're all like kind of combined, and so they kind of build off of each other. And I'm basically going to continue doing what I'm doing, continue excavating, growing more trees. Definitely want to scale up the mushroom growing, like get some big indoor grow operations and outdoor grow operations going. Uli?
So I'm Leaf's sister, and so from an outside perspective, what is unique about what these guys are doing is that they aren't interested in that question that you just asked. And
Well,
the idea
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. No.
Not that you're not interested, but
Business and family.
the idea of the system is that you can fill all of the holes in the system and you can work in the entire system. And so I think everyone's tendency is to ask, where are you going to focus on and where are you going to go with that focus? And the focus is the system. And so continuing to have the ability to work with the entire system, whether Leaf is excited about specific roles within that, but the network and working that system and providing that to people as the entire thing is sort of the goal and the mission of what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I think, here, I wrote this down. It's a paraphrase of Bill Mollison quote, but we understand that anything is only as strong as the amount of interactions or connections that it has, and we constantly apply this principle to create more effective, efficient, and lively and interactive atmospheres. So, trying to just make more connections, yeah. Think mycelium, I guess, right?
Right here.
Could you describe what would be your ideal project, the thing you'd be the most excited to work on? And it might be like lots of little products that you're saying.
Yeah, I want to dig more ponds and do more fish growing. And I haven't done a lot of fish growing right now, but we have some fish in the ponds, but we're not really harvesting them or anything. But water systems are really a big interest of mine.
I feel like it's just to find an enthusiastic clients who really want to experiment with their environment and experiment with building whatever they can, which these guys can help them with because they have the actual building skills. So I think it's just enthusiasm and mission, and it doesn't really matter. It matters a little bit what the specific work is, but it's kind of adapting to and working with the people that they are.
I think that, I know this is a food talk, and I haven't talked a ton about food, specifically doing like dirt systems that you can put food on or in or something. But I think that food is actually a really big reason I got into this, because I love food, and yeah, so growing a lot of food and eating it.
All right, thank you. All right, so thanks to all of our presenters. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to ask each judge to give us a couple of highlights of the various presentations and kind of what stuck out for each of them, so that we can all learn from that. And then tomorrow, they've all got their score sheets. What we'll be doing is tomorrow, before the initial plenary, we'll go ahead and we'll announce the winners tomorrow morning. So if we could just get a couple of final points from everybody, that would be great. Starting with Raymond.
Yeah, starting with me because Cairn's chicken, as it turns out. Who knew? That's an ag reference, chicken. Yeah, okay. So one of the things we're scoring the presenters on is sort of the opening line, did you grab our attention? And I gotta say that the turning things into gold and silver grabbed my attention, though I would have liked to hear more about that later on. So good job on grabbing our attention. Also, what really stuck out for me with all of you is that you have a clear passion, philosophical commitment to what you want to do, and I personally think that's an important element of success.
Well, Raymond stole my one little highlight with the tagline. I think that's really strong. Can be used in a variety of situations. I think I just want to say congratulations to everybody. It takes a lot of courage to get up there, answer our questions, be articulate. So thank you for having the courage to do that. And also just really appreciated the wide variety of enterprises that were presented, and your enthusiasm for the work that you're doing. So thank you for sharing.
It's going to get hard for you, Cairn. I would reiterate exactly what they said. And one of the things that I was looking forward to in coming today is getting out of the day-to-day bubble of the job and being inspired by people, by the ideas and the passion around creating a better world through these diverse businesses and projects. 32 million to bootstrapping it in Vermont, and it's inspiring, and it makes me want to continue to do the work I do. So thank you all for doing what you're doing, and continue that hard work.
These guys stole absolutely everything that I was going to say. So let me maybe just give a little bit of advice. So 3 minutes, 3-minute pitch is almost impossible to deliver very well, and all of you did a great job of standing up there and actually managing to inform us enough that we actually knew something about what you were trying to do at the end of 3 minutes. So that's not easy to do. A human can speak about 150 words a minute without speaking too fast. So 3 minutes is 450 words. And if you actually go to write those 450 words out, you will see how little time you have to actually do that. So if I could just leave you all with one piece of advice, because I think all of you, for the most part, all of you, this is a real generalization, are presenting, the way I look at it, solutions in search of a problem. Because of your passion and because of the way you are thinking about things, you have created work for yourselves and a venture for yourselves that you're really excited about working on, but maybe are not solving the problem that might exist, or maybe an adjacent problem near what you're trying to solve that actually is the problem that you will eventually solve. So I think the trick for all of you in this phase that you're in is figuring out what that real problem is and then tailoring the solution to that. So that would just be one piece of advice. Do you guys agree with any of that? Because if you disagree, I want... Of course you disagree.
No. I do agree. I think that maybe more clearly articulating or identifying what the problem is. There's a lot of local food businesses. And I know for the hazelnuts, the skinny pancake, they're an investment of ours. Nutella crepes are their best seller. They really hate Nutella because of the palm oil in it. They want to get a local manufacturer in Vermont, and if they could actually get a New England hazelnut, they would be thrilled. So I think for you guys to talk about that, identify those local food restaurants or whoever it is that are trying to find local food. There are no local nuts, so that's the solution there. So just being able to articulate the bone broth. New York wants bone broth for the restaurants, the local. Where are they getting it from? Are they having it shipped in from the Midwest? So being able to just articulate, I think there is a problem. It's more for you guys to be able to articulate where that market is.
And I would just say, in some cases, substitute the word need for the word problem. It's not necessarily a problem that needs to be solved, but I think each of you have identified a need, and in terms of pitching, I would certainly hit that right up front. Here's the need, here's the solution, and the rest is sort of window dressing.
Okay, round of applause for our panel here. Thank you very much. And for our presenters, thank you. All right, so the envelope, please. Okay, so last night we had five great presentations. And the three winners receive, as we said, 3 hours each of personal coaching and consultation with myself and Cairn Cross Entrepreneurs in Residence, Windham Grows. So our winners are Dedicated Table, Community Solutions. They are not here. I will email him and let him know. And Harvest Alchemy, who I also don't think is in the room right now, but I'm sure they'll be around. So those are our three winners. Congratulations to them all. Can't wait to work with everybody.